In 1945, the war was at Germany's doorstep, but 200,000 soldiers still refused to surrender in Latvia. In the spring of 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed on all fronts, a stubborn German force remained isolated in the Courland Pocket, modern-day Latvia. For months, Army Group Courland had withstood repeated Soviet offensives, cut off from the main front but refusing to surrender. The events of March to May 1945 marked their final chapter, a desperate defense against overwhelming odds, culminating in a reluctant surrender and a march into captivity. The Courland campaign consisted of 6 major Soviet offensives between October 1944 and May 1945. By March, Army Group Courland, comprising Waffen-SS, Wehrmacht, and Latvian units, was entrenched in heavily forested frozen terrain. Supplies were scarce, yet morale remained surprisingly intact. On March 1, 1945, the Soviet Workers' and Peasants' Red Army shifted its main effort to the Saldus sector. In brutal winter conditions, the 19th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS 2nd Latvian, supported by Wehrmacht troops and the new Panzer Brigade Courland, resisted the assault. When early spring thaw turned the battlefield into a sea of mud, Soviet armor bogged down, temporarily halting their advance. This respite came at a heavy cost to the Soviets. 70,000 men, 608 tanks, and 178 aircraft lost. Yet everyone knew it was only a pause before the final offensive. During the lull, the Germans reorganized. The 11th SS Volunteer Panzer Grenadier Division Nordland and the 215th Infantry Division were withdrawn to Germany. Leadership at the top was unstable. Generaloberst Heinrich von Wettenhoff was replaced by Generaloberst Lothar Rendulic, who in turn was succeeded within 24 hours by Generaloberst Karl Hilpert on March 14. Meanwhile, Soviet air raids, submarine attacks, and torpedo boat strikes continued to harass German shipping. Both Großadmiral Karl Donitz and Generaloberst Heinz Guderian urged Adolf Hitler to withdraw Army Group Courland to save its troops for the defense of Germany. Hitler refused. The soldiers in Courland would fight to the end. On March 16, 1945, the Soviet 10th Guards Army launched a massive assault on the Saldus sector. A relentless artillery and mortar barrage was followed by waves of Stalin tanks and T-34s. German trenches crumbled under the onslaught, but Hilpert committed the Prussian 11th Infantry Division and the 12th and 14th Panzer Divisions to stem the tide. The fighting was savage. On the first day alone, German defenders destroyed 92 Soviet tanks. Battles broke down into small, isolated engagements, with companies and battalions clinging desperately to bunkers and ruined villages. By March 23, after suffering heavy casualties, the Soviets called off the attack. Despite their success in repelling the Red Army yet again, Army Group Courland was running out of ammunition, food, and fuel. Horses already underfed pulled heavy carts for miles each day, sometimes carrying the wounded. When animals were killed by artillery or air attack, their meat became part of the soldiers' rations. By late March, even German high command recognized the hopelessness of the situation. Yet discipline held. Aside from one patrol boat crew that fled to Sweden, there was no mass desertion. Between October 1944 and March 1945, the Germans claimed to have inflicted 400,000 Soviet casualties and destroyed 2,600 tanks and 700 aircraft. Remarkable figures, considering their isolation. Hilpert summed up their mission. The mission of Army Group Courland has remained unchanged: to fight with all available means, weaken Russian manpower, and prevent their advance into the Reich itself. In late April, as Soviet troops stormed Berlin, forces in Courland became a strategic backwater. Many Soviet units besieging the pocket were redeployed to Germany. On May 1, Soviet loudspeakers announced Hitler's death and the fall of Berlin. 6 days later, Hilpert contacted Marshal Leonid Govorov to negotiate a truce. A few overloaded ships managed to evacuate small numbers of men, prioritizing fathers with large families. 35 Junkers Ju-52/3M transport aircraft attempted to fly others out, but Soviet fighters shot down all but 3. Rumors circulated among the troops about a possible German-American alliance against the Soviets, but these hopes were quickly crushed. With no rescue coming, 203,000 German soldiers surrendered. They marched past well-fed Red Army troops, gaunt and exhausted after months of siege. The final Wehrmacht order to the troops tried to frame their endurance as a badge of honor. Our army group in Courland, which had endured months of strongly superior Soviet tank and infantry formations and stood fast during 6 great battles, has achieved immortal fame. For most, this immortal fame ended not in glory, but in the long road to Soviet prison camps. The defense of the Courland Pocket stands as one of the last significant German military actions of World War II. Despite their tactical successes, the troops' endurance could not alter the strategic reality. Germany was finished. The men of Army Group Courland, cut off, undersupplied, and without hope of relief, fought to the last. Their fate sealed long before the final shots were fired.